What kind of other game genres would you like to see Looney Tunes be in?
Dating sim.
Oh.
Cupid Elmer's dating sim, where you date Cupid Elmer.
Lol.
No.
You have to date Cupid?
Yes.
Amazing.
It's very lonely.
Hey there guys, what's up? This is Community Manager Haruki and I welcome you to the next Podcast of Mayhem series. As a reminder, in this podcast what we do is that we bring you guys, members of the development team, and then we talk about everything World of Mayhem that is relevant to your interests. So today I'm super excited to be welcoming two members of the development team. One of them is Leopold and the other one is Hansel. Hello guys, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing great. Loving the quarantine life.
So if you guys are on Discord, you probably have crossed paths with either of them. They're always lurking, and sometimes they, engage in cheerful banter. And in this podcast, we're gonna do something a little bit different. So normally I have, you guys have me asking questions, but this time we also picked up some questions from the community. So let's do some sort of introductions, and then let's jump right into community questions. How does that sound?
I think it's great. Like, when else are we going to get the chance to answer questions?
That's it. Okay, so I introduce you guys as like game designers. Yeah, that's your kind of like broad role, but can you let me know or let everyone know what you normally do on your day-to-day basis?
I think we come up with the unprofitable ideas.
Yeah, it's our job to be told no constantly.
Exactly. But no, game designers, right? More specifically, we're combat designers. We're pretty much in charge of all the tunes, all the skills, relationships, and pretty much all the interactions that the tunes have between each other. We work from initial visual concept all the way to QA and implementation and release.
Yeah, we also support some of the other efforts that are happening on the team, like the event designers, and some of the economy stuff generally leans on us as the sort of, experts in-house on all things characters.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, what got you into game design in the first place?
After you, Hansel. After you, Hansel.
I just love games. I've been playing them, I don't know how long, too long. I've spent way too much of my life on it. I might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, for sure. Ever since we were like playing Game Boy in the backseat of our parents' cars, like by the light of passing streetlights.
Exactly.
Plunges into darkness every like 6 seconds.
Yeah, no, I think I can relate to that in a different way, but it was just amazing to find like there is this space, in video games where what you can do makes sense, So for me as a community manager, it's just amazing that there is the outlet to contribute to what I really love and what is my passion. So I guess for you guys it's the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you meet a lot of game designers who got into games for any reason other than the love of the medium. Like it's one of those crafts where you put up with a lot and you go through a lot of obstacles and stuff, but like you're generally here for great reasons. Otherwise I don't think you would do it. It's like there are easier ways to make a living.
Yeah.
And there are certainly easier artistic mediums to work in, like if you're a creative. But games spoke to me specifically for a couple reasons. The main one is that it's an interactive medium. I'm super excited by the fact that unlike a film or a comic book or a novel or something, it doesn't move unless you touch it. You have to constantly give it input, and then it responds in an interactive way. And so I've always thought that games were like the most progressive storytelling medium on the planet right now, because they incorporate this new variable of player choice, which more passive forms of entertainment have never had, which is not to demean those things. You can accomplish a higher level of, sort of literary cohesion and like cinematic delivery in things like novels and films, but you can't, but it only tells one story, and video games are these like sort of open-ended emergent systems where you don't so much write a story for the players to consume, so much as build a system in which they tell their own.
Yeah, the interactivity. And for example, in this game in Looney Tunes, like I see a lot of people very, very excited about, that there are like synergies between tunes and things like that. But then also like I see a lot of teams that I'm pretty sure the person putting those teams up is just moved by the old cartoons and, how the line of characters looks like.
Yeah, and as character designers, we really want to make sure that that's a viable path, that characters who look like they belong together actually do from a gameplay perspective. But we also want to be surprised. It's also exciting to see players break those visual themes and come in with just this like random grab bag of aesthetic discord that actually is an awesome mechanical package. And as a designer, you really want to serve both those goals.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. Not only do you have the player interaction, but you have player discovery. You have all these specific interactions, all these specific moments that players are finding that we don't necessarily anticipate. I don't think there's anything more satisfying than when we find out that players have been using the systems in a way that we didn't predict.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then you see what they've done and you can build on top of that. You're like, oh wow, Toon X is being used in this way that we didn't expect. Let's lean into that. Let's facilitate that strategy that the community, that our player base discovered. And let's just see where it goes.
I guess that you guys being on Discord helps a little bit on that, right?
Absolutely. Another reason games are so enticing for me is I'm a pretty social person, and if I wanted to make art alone in my bedroom, as I do now during quarantine, hooray! But if I want, under normal circumstances, if I wanted to be making art, like secretly by myself and like maintain full, like tyrannical auteur control over the art, I would go like the novel that I started would be done. All these things. I'd be in an attic working on those things. But like with games, you get a really unique opportunity to engage with the consumers of your art. And I don't mean consumers in the capitalist sense of the word. I mean it in like literally like the people who, the viewers, the readers, the listeners, the players, the people who engage with the medium. And you get to go into a chat room on the internet and talk to those people and be like, hey guys, do you like the thing I made? And sometimes they're like, no, it's garbage, you're bad. And you should feel bad. And then you're like, okay, cool, I'm listening. Why was this bad? Yeah. And other times they're like, no, this is sick, I love it. And that kind of feedback, that kind of like emotional, creative feedback sends me right back into the spreadsheet right away. And I can't wait to make the next character.
I think we're blessed, particularly because working with the characters and the Looney Tunes, there's already this emotional investment in them. And I think people are just excited just to know that something exists, and we're able to give that to them.
Yeah. I sometimes get a lot when we are doing the reveals on YouTube, and then we decide to bring some kind, the obscure characters, because of course everyone remembers, Daffy Hood or Matador Bugs or something like that. But when you see tunes like Opat, the Leprechaun, or for example, Justerbugs didn't appear. Well, I don't know in how many shorts he appeared. Maybe in one?
Yeah.
I think it's just the one, yeah.
Exactly.
Like 5 minutes, maybe.
And it's always going to be the favorite of someone, like if you ask me, Daffy Duck, I would probably always remember like this one where he has this fruit kind of like hat, and he's like dancing in a super feminine.
My God.
Oh, the Carmen Minardi, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to get to that eventually.
It has been requested.
Yeah, it has been requested. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I love about the Looney Tunes and this particular game, that we are like bringing, new ideas that come from our own ovens, let's say, but then we are also rescuing those very, very obscure tunes that linger, in the lore of the cartoons.
For sure. And working on a IP this venerable and this like with such an emotional value to so many people is definitely a double-edged sword from a creative perspective, because on the one hand you get the opportunity to bring people these things that they have these like rich and almost often childhood connections to, and then on the other hand you get the opportunity to expand that world by creating like new versions of these characters, like Barkeep Sheepdog and Wildcard Wolf are the example I point to all the time, in that those characters came out of conversations with other teammates where it's like, okay, like we want to do something with these two characters and we probably want to put them in the desert for design reasons, but what are those concepts and how do they vibe with the character identities? And sometimes we get it, like we kind of fumble, it doesn't really work, but that's an example I always point to of a time where we succeeded, I think, where it's like those characters just feel like they came from a cartoon, like that could have easily just been a cartoon from the Looney Tune days. And so we owe a lot to the IP, and we have to respect it, and we have to give it its due, and like really honor what it is. But we also get the opportunity to push it a little forward And it's 2020 now. This is a very, very old IP, and so we have to take risks because it exists in a contemporary context, and like otherwise it dies, and it just doesn't. If it doesn't move, it dies. But it's also like to some degree not ours to move. Like we don't own this IP. We are a third-party licensor, and we have to get every concept that we want to develop past a representative of WB who looks at it and says like, hey, this is too far. This is a divergence from the identity of the character and the IP at large, and you may not do it. And that's great. That person should be there. They should always be there in this like third-party licensing dynamic. And it's sort of our job to overshoot sometimes. Like our pitches should be too far. We want some of our pitches to get rejected because that means we were trying, we were taking risks. And the times when a risk taking, like a risky proposition actually does get accepted, that's those times where it's like, okay, we have the confidence to move forward on this because everybody responsible, everyone who's like answering to their own different master is coming to this consensus and like saying yes.
Okay, and so for example, like, can you tell us like one or two tunes that you really went like crazy far and you received the nope, this is not gonna make it into the game, boys?
Oh, you go first, Leopold. I'm worried about what I'll say.
Yeah, no, me too. I was gonna do the same. I'll shine some light into something a little bit. Mail Runner was originally pitched as a hipster kind of like urban bicycle messenger character. He had a fixed gear bicycle and a little handlebar mustache and rolled up skinny jeans to his ankles. And I was pushing for a neck tat. I really wanted like he doesn't have a lot of real estate on his neck. It's very tall and skinny.
True,
It's a little neck tube. But I was hoping so we could just fit some ink on that neck somewhere. And WB was not a fan, and they pivoted to a more traditional mailman kind of character. And I still think like hipster bike messenger roadrunner was the play, and I've saved the concept art. I'll keep it for the rest of my life. It's like a memento of my early career, and I'm very excited.
Before going to bed, you will always watch that picture and say yes, I can go sleep nicely in peace.
The Wolverine meme stroking it in its glass frame. But it's not my IP, it's not my job to just do whatever I want in this sandbox. And so that's an example of one where like I still wish we kind of could have done it, but I understand.
Yeah, I came from an illustration background, and whenever I get a really stupid idea, I sketch it out so the art team can, pat my head and tell me I did a good job and then ignore it. And I think the very first thing I drew when I started working on the project was Hippity Hopper as several stages of the hip hop movement. I don't think that ever went forward, though. I don't think we have the courage to show it, but it's there. It's hidden somewhere.
So before we jump to some of the community questions, I just want to ask you, like, super quick, 3 top tunes, your favorite top tunes from World of Mayhem that are released. So that bicycle Roadrunner, sorry, no, not this time.
Yeah, I noticed that asterisk because we work on tunes in the future. We work on a bunch of tunes we can't talk about, and curiously enough, those are all my favorites. But I don't know. I really
teaser,
like. Well, let's see. Let's sprinkle it in slowly. I really like Devil Dog. I think he's great. His animations are great. His utility is great. And he's a rare that managed to upstage the epic that he was sent out with, which is really impressive. I really like Reindeer Roadrunner. I didn't believe in him when we were making, but I think he turned out to be really satisfying to play with. And he's got this kind of like Phantom of Pew thing where while you're battling, you're also playing this little game of trying to keep everyone silenced and trying to keep everyone healed. And I think that's really fun. And I like the Lunar tunes a lot. I like Lunar Petunia, Master Speedy. I really like when they let us toe the line and kind of go outside the IP, kind of go some places that the cartoon didn't go. And it just frees the art team to make a lot of really cool stuff.
Actually, like the winner of our latest fan art competition was actually one picture featuring these two, the Lunar tunes, kind of like having their epic
exactly.
And it was amazing to see that, right?
It's really cool to modify these tunes and just kind of add to the Looney Tunes canon.
And you, Leopold, who are your three boys or girls?
I agree with Hansel. It's kind of hard to look back at older tunes and have as much enthusiasm for them as you do for this, like the new hot ticket that you've been working on recently. And a lot of those things, they're not out yet. But in terms of the ones that are out, I gotta say Ninja Ralph really feels like a slam dunk. His gameplay loop just really came together. He feels super satisfying to play. I'm really happy with his balance. Like I think we kind of nailed it on the attack stat, which is hard to do. That's really hard. It's really hard, and we did it by feel. So it's like, I don't know. There's something to be said about doing it that way. Sometimes, it's not a reliable method, but when you get it, it feels great. Kitty Ketty is a big fan. I'm a big fan of Kitty Ketty because her kit is supposed to feel kind of like a control panel for other characters, and I think what that does, what the assist mechanic allows you to do, is have a support who is not just a healer. She heals, but I think the way she supports her team is by making them attack more. Like she triggers their basic attacks, and all of the value that those skills contain via her own kit, and that's just like a fun way to facilitate value. I'm a big fan of that kit. And then Desperado Dawg. I've said this every time we talk about this. Anytime anyone asks me who my favorite team is, Desperado Dawg, it has to be on that list because he's the only tank in the game who cares about the hidden mechanic. Like there's no other defender who says like, I like assassins. I like people being sneaky and I'm here to facilitate them. I'm here to make that happen. And he's also the only, he's the first tank in the game to control aggro, to call damage toward himself, to redirect damage toward himself away from his allies, without using taunt, which is, like, I don't want to say it's heavy-handed, but as a mechanic, it literally just says like you can't target anyone but me. It like constrains you, and so I think Hidden by giving the rest of his team Hidden, Desperado Dawg accomplishes the definition of a tank without using that mechanic, and I'm excited with how well that works. I think an example of where it's not working right now is on Samurai. Like it's just not playing out. Like people, it was my second attempt at a design of that nature, and I just think it's way less successful. So there's lots to be learned there, and a lot of lessons to be put forward.
Okay, so now time for some questions from our community. Dalovan Lombardo, hello, asks, do you have any original tunes currently in development? And if you have one of those, can you give us a hint about who that tune is?
We do. We have a couple.
Then please shoot.
Well, original tunes are a bit more complicated in terms of development time because, we need to configure them, make new materials, new curves, just fit them in with all the other tunes. And the animation team needs to, not only do we have to animate their attacks, we have to animate them getting hit, getting frozen, defeated, and so on. Mm-hmm. So all that requires a lot more work. So original tunes come by a bit less than the variants. For a hint, there's a tune that a lot of people consistently ask, people that have just started playing, people that have been playing for years. They say, well, how is this tune not in the game? He clearly is supposed to be in the game.
Is that tune Dodo?
Absolutely.
Ah, perfect. That's it. Now I can rest in peace now. I can go to sleep. We can finish this podcast now. No, but really, like any other tunes that may see soon, the light of day that are original and people are looking forward to?
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and spill the beans that we are finally putting the gears in motion to get Rocky and Muggsy in the game. The classic smooth talking wise guys. Cannot wait.
I think there's a lot of tunes that have been hinted so far. They show up like in the art, or they show up in a description somewhere,
or the tutorial.
Tutorial. We want to stop that. We want to stop just hinting. We want to just put these tunes in.
Do you know if we will in the future we will see Mark Anthony? It's one of those tunes that for whatever the reason stays in my mind since my childhood, the big dog and the little cat.
We're actually discussing how we would implement, because we haven't done a tune that's two models at once, and that's kind of what we want to do when we get to Mark Anthony, put Pussyfoot with him. But we're still, seeing if that's viable, seeing if that's interesting. So it's in the very initial planning projects. We have a ton of ideas for tunes that aren't even in pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything's possible.
Yeah, nice to hear. Cool. So Tenti from Melbourne, Australia asks us, how do you get to choose which tune lives where? How do you guys normally go about saying, okay, you tune are going to live in town or in Summit or in Farm?
Do we get to choose, Leopold?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I wasn't told.
Honestly, I wish there were a more satisfying creative answer to this question. Ultimately, their residence on the world map is more a matter of like logistics and sort of convenience at this point than I wish it were. Mm-hmm. We're running out of space, I should say. Like the houses have a maximum number of characters that they can contain, and there are a fixed number of spots on the grid for houses in each region. And regions are difficult to create. It's not like something we can just kind of snap our fingers and add to the game as an expansion. Not to mention, some of them are like relatively underserved because our game used to have a level gating structure where you couldn't even activate like space tunes until you were like level 50 or something. So for a while we didn't make any new space tunes because too little of our player base was actually at a high enough level to even access that content. So like we were sort of pitching down the middle for players who had access to the middle, and that's the reason that the premium regions, WB and Looney, are so heavily populated, is because they are global. They are always accessible no matter where you are in the player life cycle. Mm-hmm. So I think the world map's role in World of Mayhem as a feature is kind of controversial, and it would be interesting to see us make some pretty radical changes to what that looks like, but one thing at a time.
So I have I was going to say one question, but it's actually two questions from our very own Legion Yarta, I think, or I hope that I pronounced your name correctly, one of our Looney ambassadors. So first he asks us, so what are your goals for tune development? Like, do you pay attention to the current meta that you see in Alliance Wars, in Arena, and then create tunes to fill that niche? Or do you provide a counter? Or are you just, trying to please the crowd with new and unique kits? Or are you just winging it? So how do you normally go about this?
I think to some degree, all of those suppositions are true, depending on the tune. Looking forward, we are trying to improve the amount of planning we do behind the scenes. They came from a cartoon. Like that could have easily just been a cartoon from the Looney Tune days. And so we owe a lot to the idea for how each character plays into its theme. Characters have two tags, as they're called. There's their race tag, like a rabbit or a human or an alien, and then there's their theme tag, and that would be like outlaw or hero or villain or citizen or something to that effect. And I've always wanted to, first of all, do a better job of structuring that distribution. I've always wanted our theme tag system to be more sensible, more coherent, and also to better facilitate team creation within it. Looking at each team as like a pool of characters from which several teams, depending on the circumstances, might be viable at a given time. And I've also wanted to really release new tunes with that kind of clarity. And we're sort of as a product now beginning to restructure our character creation pipeline and a lot of our strategic thinking that goes into them as early as the brainstorming and the concepting phase. And so, for instance, right now we just finished another wave of approvals for the next wave of characters with WB, and many of those character concepts derive directly from like holes that we noticed in the game. A database tool that allows us to filter tunes by mechanics and other criteria like rarity or tag or something. And I remember as a like very junior content designer on the project, when I was building a PvE campaign, I was designing an enemy team for some circumstance, and I was like, I need a tank who cares about hidden. And I put that into the database, and it was like no results. And I was like, that is a hole that I'm going to fill. And so to that effect, we in that way we've done that many times. But I think we have a definitely a more theme-oriented team-building perspective now. As an entire game, it's not just the content. It's not just the content team. Like in general, I think you're going to see us leaning into more of these like theme team-based directions. But I also want to say this is not to say that we're going to be prescribing teams. That's boring. I think that's very uninteresting as a player. I would not want developers to just be like, here are the 4 tunes, play the 4 tunes together, that's your team. Like, that's boring. I want each of those theme tags to have as many as like 2 to 4 viable teams within them. And I want to think of theme tags as pools of characters, because this is a hero collecting RPG. There are many characters, and they will always be more. The more coherent and interesting each of those theme tags functions as a pool from which players can creatively make their own teams on the fly, I think the better our product is going to stand.
And wow, that was a very, very complete answer, Leopold, that you gave us there. And
please forgive me.
And second question, you go into Discord and then you see always people like tagging you like Leopold, Hansel, Leopold. So a lot of people are always asking for reworks. Like they play a tune, they feel that there is something missing with this tune, or that it's not, at the level that they want it to be. So how do you go about prioritizing? So, how do you make the decision to say, well, actually, you're right, Ralph Wolf needs a little remake, I'm going to make it. So how does that normally go?
I've explained to Discord a couple times, and I'll do so again here, that a lot of the characters in this game were designed years ago by often different designers, but most importantly for a different game. It's not that World of Mayhem was called something else, or was even a different genre, but it was a different kind of game, and characters existed differently within it. And so time has passed, and we've released new characters, and the meta moves forward as it should. This is what we want. And so looking back, you can just see it's like not that hard. You can look back and see at characters either qualitatively or quantitatively. You can look back qualitatively and be like, this kit sucks. It's all over the place. It's not providing the kind of density of value that the kits we normally do now. Like, these 3 skills could be 1 skill. It's just not doing enough. The value isn't here. Why would I run this over something newer that we've released? And the answer is you would not. It's bad. And the other issue, and then quantitatively, you can just go look into the data. You can be like, okay, like this character's win rate is not commensurate with others of its rarity. You can filter by, only our top tier players, and you can look at the absolute apex of what is sort of happening competitively in the game. And you can be like, this is just not here. It's just absent. It's not a contender. And so you can go back in, and it's often not difficult to identify the use case of where that character should be used, and like where they could be used and what tool it could provide, what utility it could provide to players, but also looking at like at its character, at its identity, and being like, okay, like OG Penelope, this is a cat. Cats kill birds and mice, and who do we have as problem characters in our game that the players constantly complain about? It's like, okay, cool. It's like Treasure Hunter Tweety and Speedy Gonzalez.
You give me a trigger moment there with Speedy.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know. We all get like World of Mayhem flashbacks, but Penelope is just like an obvious thematic fit to counter both of those tunes. And so, we gave her a skill called Critter Vision that specifically reacts to their presence. Not their presence individually, but like the presence of their race tags, so birds and rodents, which is thematically perfect, and it opens the door for her to remain viable going forward. As we release new birds and new rodents, Critter Vision will continue to see them.
And last question, at least for this podcast, because I see that we have here a lot of topics to develop in the future as well. Windows 13 is asking us, beside the RPG format that we currently have, what kind of other game genres would you like to see Looney Tunes be in?
Dating sim.
Oh.
Cupid Elmer's dating sim, where you date Cupid Elmer.
Lol.
No.
You have to date Cupid.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's very lonely.
I
don't know. I mean, we see a lot of games that have already come out using the Looney Tunes brand, and normally they're really bouncy. They got a lot of violence in them. So normally you got platformers or puzzle platformers. I think a side-scrolling beat 'em up would be really cool. I keep thinking of this like 8-bit Crypt of the Necrodancer kind of stuff, where you just hop around to the Looney Tunes theme and keep hitting each other on the head. I think that could be really fun.
Okay, guys, so yeah, I guess that this will be all. So thanks, Leopold and Hansel, for taking the time to answer these questions and chat with me. That was really nice.
Thank you so much.
Haruki, thank you as always for having us.
So yeah, I hope I can have another podcast of Mayhem in the future with you guys. Any listeners, yeah, let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you would like to see, Leopold and Hansel answering more questions or chatting more about, tunes and game design, let us know. And in the meantime, I'm gonna leave you here. Don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.